We fighting for power. Not individual power, because I don't want it. We're not fighting for power for me, we're fighting for power for us. For our family. For who? We're fighting for. We're fighting for mothers who can't afford child care for their children. Mothers who go into the hospital to give birth and don't come out. We fighting for mothers who don't have access to health care, to quality health care, right? Who have to go to the clinic instead of a doctor. Who don't have a birthing center or a doula, or who don't have a midwife, or folks that they get access to help them get healthy quality treatment and care so they can have a healthy baby. They want you to say your kids need to start school ready to learn, but they put you in an environment where you are trying to survive, so you're not even ready to prepare your kid to learn. You're not eating right. You don't have a doctor. There's no primary care physician. So all that has to change. We're fighting for powerful women like that so they can get a tax credit for them and not a tax credit for millionaires. So I would rather take a tax credit for millionaires and give a tax credit to women so they can afford child care for their babies, right? And if they pay for child care, then maybe if they have somebody watching their children and not just their grandmama, or pay their grandmama for watching their children, then, they can have time to get a better job, have the time to advance their education, have time to do other things. Yeah, we need child tax credits. So when people say, oh, you're fighting for child tax credits, it's going to cost too much. Yeah, I'm fighting for child tax credits. But I'm going to get the money from taking away from those tax credits you give to millionaires who don't need them. Who don't need them. That's what we're trying to empower. We're trying to empower our sons and sometimes our daughters who come home from incarceration, who need opportunity, who need housing and employment and a driver's license and direction and academics and the opportunity to be a part of a system that excluded them. So we're not reintegrating them to society, because reintegration means, again, they was never integrated in the first place. So what we're trying to do is create an opportunity for them. We're fighting for folks like that as well, to be able to vote, to be able to sit on juries, right? To be able to get housing, to be able to, get a decent job. Why is that important? Because it helps our economy. We fighting for our immigrant brothers and sisters who just came here. And sometimes some of us get a little confused with that because we don't know we just got here soon enough ourselves. My father used to tell me, when they said everybody should go back where they came from, he said if everybody did that, the airports would be crowded. Because none of us belong here. So at the end of the day, we want to empower communities and folks to be able to get opportunity, to be able to get jobs, right? To not be threatened and isolated in their own communities, in their own neighborhoods, to engage in the workforce. We're fighting for them as well. Our fight is their fight. And their fight is our fight. So this is the broad-based coalition we're fighting for. We're fighting for homeowners who can barely afford their mortgage, who insurance is going up, and taxes are through the roof, and the services they get don't match the taxes that they pay. We're fighting for people that are renting, whose rents continue to increase in municipalities because the state is not building enough housing all over the state of New Jersey, where it's becoming too expensive to live in New Jersey. It's becoming too difficult for you to be able to get a house, for you to be able to get an apartment that you can afford. God forbid if you're not low income. So if you stuck between, I make too much money and not enough money, I think that's the majority of us. Many of us are stuck between, I don't make enough money and I don't make less money, right? So I don't get Section 8. I don't qualify for that. But the rent's too high. The mortgage's too high, right? And we have to begin to build more housing in these communities to drop mortgages, to drop rents. When the last time you saw a house being built in your neighborhood anyway from the ground up? because there's a whole group of people who can't afford a house, right? But they want to move into luxury apartments. So they move into luxury apartments because the mortgage is too high. That's just the reality. I don't care where you live at. I don't know affluent cities around Pleasantville. Some affluent, if you was born and raised in affluent cities down here in Atlantic County, around here somewhere, I know you can find a couple. And you go to school and you get an education and you get a good job, you can't afford to live in the community you was born and raised in because the housing market is too high. And the zoning laws don't allow you to build an ADU or a dwelling on your home that you have. Doesn't allow you to take an irregular lot and build a starter home. Doesn't allow for 2 or 3 family homes. So now you can't live in that neighborhood, you gotta go find another neighborhood to live in. And you're gonna wind up in Newark somewhere in a luxury apartment, now paying $2,500, but the people in Newark are used to paying $1,200, but they're not building housing for $1,200 no more, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who are buying $2,500 apartments now. So everybody that was renting that in Newark are priced out. Because we have to build housing for your children because you refuse to. Because you refuse to. And the zoning laws in the state are prohibitive and exclusionary. They was designed that way to keep people out. God is so good because the laws that were built to keep us out are now keeping their own children out. So now you're forced to deal with it. Now you gotta fix it. Now you gotta develop it and exchange it. We are gonna do that, right? Which is why those fights are our fights. That's the #1 issue in the state, the cost of living. The cost of living is the #1 issue in the state. I can't afford to live here. I can't afford it. All up and down the state of New Jersey, I can't afford it. White families, black families, Latino families, Asian families, 30% of white families are struggling in the state of New Jersey. 30%. A third, 52% of African American families struggle. 52%. And if you go by county, it gets worse. So if you go down to Cumberland County, right, you got 52% of people, black families in New Jersey who are struggling, but 54% of everybody in Cumberland County is struggling. Everybody. Right? So 51% of Latino families. That's a lot of people in the state that are struggling. And they respond to our struggles by giving us a higher gas tax. They respond to our struggles by making you pay more in transit. So now the transportation costs are higher. They respond to your struggles by raising the cost of food and milk and eggs and bread. They respond to your struggles by preventing you from increasing your wages. They respond to your struggles by making it difficult for you to unionize or be a part of a union. That's how they respond to your struggles by getting rid of the mansion tax, getting rid of the estate tax. They respond to the struggles by cutting down corporate business tax. That's what they do. So they're cutting all these taxes up here. Meanwhile, your cost of living is increasing. I'm not making this up. This is a fact. And you don't know where it's coming from, so you're angry. In fact, you're angry at your neighbor. You pointing fingers at local folks because you don't know why this stuff is going on. You blaming individuals that's happening. Meanwhile, your children in these communities tear the place apart. Trying to figure out how they're going to make it, what they're going to do, right? And because we have no real focus, no real programming, no real investment, no real dollars in those communities, in those areas, you see that community like it's on fire. We aware of that. Newark, Trenton, Camden, Pleasantville, everywhere. Jersey City, parts of it. Part of Jersey City, that's still Jersey City. Chilltown, JC, we used to call it back in the days. It's still a small park. You go to that park, we still there. Having the same problems and having the same issues that we've had for a very long time that most of us ignore, that the state ignores. You know why they ignore our issues? Because we don't vote anyway. you're going to vote anyway. Then you get mad at people because they ignore your issues, but you're going to vote for them anyway. They're prepared for that. They have that laid out already. They know you're going to vote for A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, line A, all the way. You're going to vote for them. You don't know them. You haven't seen them. They knock on your door. Don't come to your neighborhood. Don't eat your cooking. Don't talk to your cousin. Don't speak to your grandma. Don't play bingo with you. Ain't in your backyard. Don't come to your cookout. Don't show up to the Juneteenth celebration. Ain't at the graduation for the kids in the neighborhood, the community. Ain't at the block party. Don't know what your grandmama chicken tastes like. Don't show up to your community. Won't have a conversation with you. They don't know you. They don't care to know you. They just want A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. You don't know them and they don't know you. Then you get mad because they don't do anything for you. Why do you expect them to? You don't even know them. You haven't even spoke to them. They don't even have the nerve to come to your block, your community, and have a conversation with you. They don't even try to speak the language you speak. Whatever that may be. They're not coming. They got surrogates that show up in their name to speak for them. To tell you to do the right thing and the right thing to be done. But we've been waiting for the right thing for a long time. Which is why we have to do something different than the normal stuff that's been going on. And when all these people line up before you, they are the same person. You know they're the same person. They're the same person. Everybody that's running for governor, they put them before you. These are the same individuals. They look different a little, just a little. They look a little different. They're the same person. Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks. Same people. Same ideas. Same nonsense. Same stuff. These people talk very radical, saying all this stuff during the primaries. Then when they get to the general election, it gets a little, softer and softer. Then when they win, I don't know why he even said that stuff. I don't even know why he even said that. I don't believe that stuff. I was saying that because I was with y'all, and I knew you wanted to hear that. Let me tell you something. You can hear me speak anywhere I go. I talk the same wherever I am, wherever I'm in front of 50 people or 5 people. I say the same thing over and over again. Why? Because the only way we can get it in your head is if I'm saying over and over and over again to make you understand and be clear on what we're doing. Those people that we're running against, guy is on Twitter saying, "Oh, this campaign not about sound bites." That's a shot. He took a shot. We call it throwing shade, a little shade. He was trying to say, "Oh, what he's trying to say is the mayor can speak a little bit, so he using sound bites." This ain't about sound bites. This is about policy. But we've been waiting for the policy for 50 years. We ain't seen the policy yet. And because you write the white papers, don't make you smart. Nobody never gonna read them white papers. Nobody gonna read that stuff. I done wrote this thing and put it up here. This is my policy on education. Well, where do you get it from? How do you have a policy on education? What about our kids? You mean all of the kids or just your kids? But what policy of education do you have? Have you been to our neighborhood? Hell, have you been to the school in the neighborhood where you live at? Have you been to those communities and see what's going on there? Have you talked to those guys in those neighborhoods, those mothers that are struggling? Have you talked to people that just showed up to the school yesterday, just got to this country, can barely speak the language, who are trying to maneuver what was going on in public schools, that don't have the resources? Have you talked to mothers in those schools with kids that have autism and other special needs that are trying to work it out and figure out what's going on in those schools? Have you talked to mothers that have kids in there by themselves who lost their daddies either to jail or to death, whose sons are wayward in those neighborhoods and trying to get a hold on and a handle on them? Have you spoke to those kids? No, you haven't spoke to their mama, their brothers, you haven't even spoke to their teacher. So don't tell me about an education policy you have. What you're saying in this policy is that segregation is wrong. We all know segregation is wrong. We all know segregation. So segregation became wrong to you because you're running for governor. Segregation has been wrong to us since we was out of our mama's womb.